You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the November 11th, 2024 meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Welcome everyone to the November Long Beach Town Council meeting. Can we please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meg, can you do a roll call?
Sure can. President Joy Schmidt, are you present?
Here.
Anita Rogers.
Here.
Kendra Bartlett.
Here.
J.D. Haley.
Present.
And Councilwoman Shannon Wojcik is absent. Chief Swistek.
Present.
Attorney Willoughby.
Present.
Clerk Collins, I am present. And that concludes roll.
Thank you. My only opening remarks are eternal gratitude to all of our veterans. Thank you all for all of your service. Approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion of October 14th, 2024?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2024. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Public comments, which will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comments on Zoom? Seeing none, do we have any public comments in the audience? Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Police Department Commission, Chief Swistek.
Good evening, everyone. The police department responded to 388 calls for service when compared to 235 calls in the previous year, for an increase of 153 calls. During the month of October, 10 incident reports were documented. A total of 7 individuals were arrested, 2 felony arrests for operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, 2 misdemeanor arrests for operating a motor vehicle with a suspended driver's license, 2 misdemeanor arrests for operating a motor vehicle without ever obtaining a driver's license, and 1 misdemeanor arrest for operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated. Overall, the increase in calls were increased traffic enforcement. A lot of increased stops were in the town of Michiana Shores. We've been stepping up our patrols over there, so hence some additional activity. Last April, you recall that the LaPorte County prosecutor had donated $8,500 to the town of Long Beach for the purchase of a drone for the police department. I just want to touch on an incident from this past Friday where the Michigan City Police Department was trying to apprehend a wanted felon who crashed his car near H&S Services near US 12 and Carrick Road, so just outside our town. Corporal Farley was on duty. He heard the call and the accident. He responded, at which time he deployed the drone, and within a matter of just a few minutes, he had the drone up in the air, was able to spot the suspect that fled from the crash, and they were able to take the suspect into custody. So just want to again thank LaPorte County Prosecutor Sean Fagan for the purchase of that drone. This is probably the 3rd case I can think of in recent months that we put our drone up and were able to catch the person while they were fleeing from us. One of the incidents that we had back in the summer, an individual went out into some mucky water, and with the FLIR, the heat sensor on it, we were able to see him actually swimming across the ravine, and the drone was right over him, giving out all the directions to the officers and that. So very useful piece of equipment. 32 years ago, I never would have thought we'd be flying drones catching bad guys. So just want to share that with everybody.
Does Michigan City have a drone?
They have probably at least 3 or 4 right now.
4.
Yeah, every agency in the county pretty much has them right now. The Sheriff's Department has, I think, about half a dozen of them. And all of us coordinate together. You actually have to have an FAA license to be able to fly the drone, which Corporal Farley is certified to fly. and it's been very, very useful. So there was not a police commission meeting because we had a lack of a quorum. We'll be addressing that tonight with the appointment. Then we can move on to the town administrative side. A couple of things I shared with some of the council members. I'll pass it down for JD to see as well. We're going to be sending out a postcard during the week of Thanksgiving, which will instruct residents how they can sign up for newsletters, emails, other useful information from the town. So on one side, we'll have the details on how you can join the newsletter list through email, and then on the back side will be some holiday wishes from the town of Long Beach as well. So we'll be getting these postcards out, the 5-inch and a 7-inch. They'll be going out the last week in November, first week in December. So we just want to encourage everybody to sign up for the alerts. The CCMG award, that was emailed to all the council members as well as it was sent out to residents. For those that have not heard, the town will be receiving nearly $1.3 million in a grant to pave approximately 13 roadways in the spring of 2025. So we're looking forward to getting that work done. And then our match to that is roughly between the engineering fees and then our match for the grant itself is approximately $643,000 that the town will have to put up against the 1.3. So overall, we'll be paving $1.75 million in roadways next spring. Public safety building, the septic system, I spoke to Scott Stewart, the installer. He's hoping to get started in the week of November 18th on the new Presby across the street for the public safety building. We're still conducting interviews for the Open Street Department position. That has been a slow go. Many of the applicants that we reached out to, we've been having difficulty getting them to return calls and follow up with simple instructions, unfortunately. So we're not in a hurry to fill that until we find the right candidate. Reminder leaf collection, no pumpkins, no sticks, to the edge of your property, not in the roadway. We've got quite a few residents that want to keep their lawns clear, and they seem to want to put the leaves out into the roadway, so we've had to call a few already, so just a friendly reminder on that. We talked about the postcard. The community center roof is done, the gutters are next. We're working with the contractor JB West. Hopefully that'll get done in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Update on the vehicles. The police car that is on order will not arrive until the first quarter of 2025. The new fire truck that was ordered well over 2 years ago will not arrive till approximately July of next year. And the street department truck that was approved earlier this summer, that will not arrive to the town until approximately July of 2025. And that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Volunteer Fire Department, Dave?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This is a report of activity through October 31st. Fire calls to date. We're running about 18% more calls over last year. We stand at 79 calls for the period. 61 of the calls have been in Long Beach. The others have been mutual aid assistance. Actually, for the month, we had 2 calls classified under the fire category. We had 2 hazardous conditions, which I believe were power line issues, and 6 false alarms. In my years on the department, I have not seen the number of false alarms we have. To date, it's 45 calls. And as I said, I think last month, I believe it's due to spiders getting in these instruments and causing the problems. We had a fire call this afternoon, a false trip. So I guess we just have to respond. And average turnout of personnel per fire call stands at 8. On the medical side, we are 23% higher at call activity over last year. We stand at 101 calls 97 of the calls have been in Long Beach. We had 4 personal injury calls. We had 9 lift assists and 4 medical alerts. And the average turnout per medical call stands at 6 members. Both fire and medical, our response time is approximately 4.2 minutes. And members have volunteered a total of 2,409 hours year to date. And that is the report.
I had a quick question about the false alarms. I know we talked about it last month too. Is there any follow-up that can be done by the fire department? Maybe sending a letter or an email or something saying, can you check to make sure it's clean? Or I don't know what to do to help you there. It's a lot of calls.
Probably in the early 2000s, I presume it's still on the books, that if you have more than one alarm call, I think it's maybe 3, you're warned. After that, then there's monetary damages, but the issue is so many times we're called out and it's a house and we can't access it. That's our responding to the call. Of course, we're going to do that, but it's frustrating. Where do you break a window to gain access? We try to use our thermal cameras to see if there is heat in the house. And tonight, this afternoon, a key holder arrived. And so I think what we need to do is maybe as a department think about our approach. And I don't know if Michigan City is doing the Knox box system fire
On businesses,
um,
commercial.
and that what that entails is you acquire a Knox box, which is a little mini vault that is on the outside of your home, and the department has the only key to gain access to that. The owner would have it, but the fire department would have a master key, and then that's in a key vault that would be in the fire truck. So if we had it, you put a code in, it releases the key, we go to the Knox box and we go in. We probably 3 months ago, we did have to take a window out because we weren't sure. And I'd rather take a window out than be called back for a totally involved structure. So, Nina, maybe it is, I mean, you could say it's more awareness, but it's the alarms go off. And as I say, what we have found over the years, spider webs, when people are refinishing the floors or whatever in a home, the dust trips the alarms. So I'm not sure. We need to think about as our department that I think we come back to the town and say, here's what our thoughts are.
Well, yeah, maybe you can get something that we can put in our next newsletter. But, to notify the residents how to do it.
I know it sounds silly, but I truly believe even putting your vacuum wand up there or getting a little spray will blow out the dust and particulate that's in the sensor. And I really think that could go a long way. So maybe we could put that in the newsletter.
Okay.
So I don't want to say whether or not I have an alarm system, but when my parents years ago had an alarm system, and they used to call a number and you would have to give a code or something. So I don't know what companies do now. Like, so when the alarm goes off, it notifies you, but nobody calls the homeowner to say,
I think there is a corresponding alert to the homeowner in most cases, I'm sure.
okay.
But many times.
But that still doesn't get you into that.
Right, because what we'll do is we'll contact the 911 center and say, do you have a key holder on record?
Okay,
And they'll say no. So, thank you.
thanks.
The code provides for 4 in a 12-month period, false alarms before a fire.
Okay, thank you.
4.
4 false alarms and 12.
happens after that?
after that, they get a notice, and then the fine after that.
There is a fine associated with it. Thank you.
The fire commission did not meet this week, or this month. Public Works, Kendra?
Public Works did not meet in October either. I can go right to park board then.
Okay.
Cindy, do you want to update, or do you want, Zach gave me a report, he was gonna be here, okay, but he was gonna join on Zoom, but he couldn't at the last minute, so, the park board did meet in October. They are in the process of finalizing camp director, hiring the camp director to, replace Sarah Plooster, who stepped down. So they're no longer accepting any online applications. They got a nice pool of people and they've narrowed that down. Sarah graciously helped, offered to help screen some candidates, and she's obviously the most familiar with the intricacies of the role. So they're doing that. The tennis courts, I'll just read what Zach had wrote. They're working on architectural drawings to completely replace the current courts, which have been repaired many times and have numerous dead spots that are not fixable. The design will have a similar stripe design to what we have today. We're also considering a dedicated pickleball court adjacent to the current courts with 2 more courts to the east. When there is a drawing that the park board's ready, comfortable with, they'll get proposals for the work and then bring it to the town council and keep the town council involved the whole time, as this will be costly, super costly, I'll add, but it's something our town uses nearly every day. So that's in the works, that's exciting. And Stop 29, finally, all of the trees that were placed on town property by a homeowner have been removed. And that's a long time coming, so that's great to hear. And they're trying to get dune grass planted before the winter, and if they can't get that in by the winter, they'll do it in the spring. And they're also looking at other local plant options that are low maintenance, deer resistant, and will not block the lake views. That's it, right? Yep.
Thank you. Community Center, Anita?
Community Center met November 4th. There were just general discussion of housekeeping things going on, including tables and chairs policies, smoke detectors, new batteries, kitchen project, stage curtains, painting and cleaning carpet in room 12 and maybe a couple of other rooms, and the planters in front to be finished. And later on in the meeting, they'll talk about the handicapped accessible bathroom. Hopefully Chief will want to talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Budget and Finance, Meg?
Yes, we met on November 6th, and we gave an update on the budget timeframe. The DLGF, the Department of Local Government Finance, is reviewing the budget, and when that review is complete, we will receive a preliminary notice, and then we have 10 days to reply and make sure that there's no errors. The final approval order will be sent sometime in December. The budget is funded, we do not anticipate any problems, and we expect the DLGF to pass our budget. The revenue and expenses, as well as the cash allocations, were sent to council. The projections are completed, actually, and with not working today and then being completed later on Friday afternoon, I'd like to just finish putting in some capital expenses into the capital projections just to make it accurate. So that'll be sent out to council tomorrow. Mark, Tristan, and I will be meeting to continue working on the capital asset inventory and then subsequent reporting to the state. So that is just a part of the AFR that we are trying to make more robust for the town. We haven't really reported on it in a big way in the past, so Mark and his team have done a phenomenal job getting us started, and then with Senator and Associates' help, we're going to be able to work through some of the other items that they would request of us. Later on the agenda, later on the agenda, we have a year-end additional appropriation, as well as the garbage rate ordinance. Both of those were discussed at the budget meeting. We would work on after that appropriation, beginning in November, but mainly in December, just cleaning up some expense lines. So, if we overspent on one line, underspent on another. So we would look to do a transfer resolution in December, which is my understanding, very common. Trista did a lot of our budget last year with the circumstances of the town, so she doesn't pay the bills every day. And I think things are just ever evolving, so we'll look to kind of clean some line items off for year end. Our next meeting will be on December 4th. Any questions?
Thank you. Human Resources,
Human Resources Committee did not meet in October. The next scheduled meeting is November 20th.
thank you. Tree Board, Ellen.
The tree board did not meet this month, but we've been working on some various projects. Oops. We've been working on some various projects. One being the quotes for the tree removal and trimming. So, boy, I learned a lot. But anyway, so we got the 3 quotes in, and Chief's going to talk about it later tonight. And I'm sure all of you have gotten copies of the quotes. So everyone knows who's going to get it. So, it was quite amazing. Another part of this tree quoting thing that's in our ordinance is that we're supposed to, and I copied it out, we're supposed to provide notice by certified mailing to adjacent property owners, again, of 14 days prior to coming to take these trees down. And quickly talk to Chief. I think it's something that's, don't ask me how it got by me when we did this ordinance, because we went through it with a fine-tooth comb, but you know, how you can look at something 1,000 times and not see something. I don't think it's appropriate for the town to have something certified mail, 14 days notice. I mean, I could put it in an envelope and bring it to their house cheaper than it would be for certified mail. So, but I think most of the people call us about these trees to come down, so they're pretty aware and want the trees to come down, so.
What trees are we talking about?
The trees that are on this quote,
Oh,
all of them, yeah, so we're supposed, which would then delay getting this started, because by the time we got the letters out in the 14
Yeah.
days, it just seems a bit cumbersome. So I think we need to clean that up and, you know, update it in the ordinance, which is, you know, something we can talk about further. So at this point, we're so late in the year, I guess, I don't know if I have to ask for approval that we kind of like call these people, or even if we send something to their house to let them know that we're going to be, you know, that the contractor's going to be coming and taking down the trees that they have sent in to us. So I just wanted to kind of bring
but
that
they're
up.
all on town property, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, Tom is the most patient man in the world. He's gone over, I said, is that really on town property? I can't tell you how many times he goes, yes. So,
I mean, it seems like a certified letter is overkill if we're doing trees on the town.
this is something I think would be done in the city, but it is in the ordinance, so I don't want to just, you know, ignore it. I think we need to truly try to get a hold of these people before they come. I'm willing to make phone calls and say they're going to be coming, and this is the company that's going to be coming, so they know that they're, you know, some of the people are older, just so they know that it's coming.
Sure.
And then we can work on, you know, updating this part of the ordinance and make it fit better for Long Beach, so. And that's that, and then we also, we have prepared, or, you know, a couple of us have prepared a document to provide contractors and or residents applying for permits to either build or renovate their property, which may involve tree removal or landscaping. And I don't know if all of you got it, I have copies. And it kind of, what it is kind of a takeout of the ordinance. I don't know if I have to have you look at this or anything. I kind of took it out and then kind of put stuff in a friendlier, easier to read kind of thing, but maybe someone should look at it before it goes out.
Well, right now it's at the building commission.
Okay.
And everybody, we passed it out on Friday.
Okay.
And we're gonna discuss it at our next meeting, give everybody time to go over
Okay,
it.
all right. So, okay. And that's all I have to say. You know, I just think it might be good if we start pushing some of the ordinance and let people know right up front when they do this, so.
Yeah,
Talk about this.
I agree.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, building commission met on November 8th. Permits approved, 1601 Lakeshore Drive, a new roof over a flat roof, 2515 Glendale, repairing their driveway and retaining wall. 2424 Town Court, retaining wall. 2904 Oriole Trail, replace and repair timbers. 2903 Montclair, they received their septic permit so they can move forward with their new home. 1918 Monrovia, replace and repair timbers. 2910 Belle Plaine, repair shed in the setback. Permits denied. 3007 Moore Road for a spiral stairs in the setback. We had a big discussion about Stop 24 access. So Chris and Larry are working on a license agreement which will include a $25,000 bond along with other detailed requirements which we'll share with the council when it's complete. And a stop work order was issued to 2202 Chastleton over coverage. Any questions? Okay, BZA will meet this Wednesday at 7 p.m. And again, it's a preliminary hearing which will be continued for the high-end liquor and tasting store that's proposed on Chastleton. But again, it's just a preliminary hearing. If that moves to a public hearing, we'll make sure and let everyone know. Any questions? APC, Anita?
Advisory Plan Commission met on October 21st, 2024. The main business was Paul Lippens, who's the Vice President of McKenna, which McKenna is a company that worked on the town's comprehensive plan that was approved by the council in December of 2016. He came and talked to us about a proposal, what it would entail. He answered questions from commission members, and we will see where that proposal goes, but we will continue to move forward with reviewing where we are heading with the comprehensive plan.
Any questions? Thank you. Building revenue report, Meg?
The revenue report for October 2024, there were 43 permits issued totaling $1,134,503 with revenue of $11,442. 5 electric permits issued totaling $810. 2 street dump permits with revenue of $200. Legal expenses paid to the Regent Nelson James were $6,062.50. And county charges paid to Senator Company were $6,743.43. I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Unfinished business. We have ordinance number 2024-08, amend salaries and wages ordinance number 2024-01, reference the 2024 salary and wages on second reading. Do we have a motion to approve on second reading?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Anita Remages.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance number 2024-09, 2025 salary and wages on...
What is that?
Somebody's not
The
muted.
kid that's at on the computer.
Okay, let's start that one over. Ordinance number 2024-09, 2025 salary and wages, second reading. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make another motion to approve that ordinance.
I'll second that ordinance.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, does that mean no, you're not opposed? Or
I'm voting against the ordinance.
you are voting against it? Okay.
Now what do we do?
Well, it still passes 3-1.
3-1, okay.
All right. Update on progress of new fire department vehicles. I just want to keep this on the front burner because we have 2 new fire trucks in our future and they're big expenditures. So just want to keep it on the front burner. So the delivery of the first truck will be now, I think, in the second half of 2025, and that's what payment will come due on that. Sender and Company will give us a recommendation on the best option for funding for that when we place the order. And the second truck will be ordered in late 2025. However, there's a 3-year delivery time on that, so funds won't come due until 2029. That was just an FYI. New business. The Corridon Group, do we have Chris Gibson on Zoom?
I'm here, Counselor.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us tonight. Could you give us a little update on what's happening?
Sure. I thought I'd give you a quick update on the election and what we're expecting in the 2025 legislative session. As I'm sure everyone knows, Mike Braun, U.S. Senator Mike Braun, won the election for governor by a little over 13%. I think the percentage was probably the most surprising part. Internal polling from the Braun team showed them up more like 5 or 6 percentage points going into the last 2 weeks of the election was my intelligence. And I think most conventional wisdom had that race much closer than 13% over Jennifer McCormick, but in large part probably carried by former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, winning the state by 19%, which was a similar margin to what he won by in 2016. And again, I think that was probably a larger margin than most had expected. We also, conventional wisdom probably would have given the Democrats picking up a seat or 2 in the Indiana House. Going into the election, it was 70-30, a supermajority. And today it remains 70-30. There is one race in the Indianapolis area that's too close to call at this point. State Representative Becky Cash has a 66 vote lead over Tiffany Stoner. So that race is yet to be called. But assuming the Republican and Becky Cash hangs on to that seat, the House would remain at 70 Republicans and 30 Democrats. In the Senate, it also remained unchanged in their supermajority Republican control, 40 Republicans, 10 Democrats. The representative and senator for Long Beach, Representative Boy in the House, won re-election. Senator Rodney Pohl was not up for re-election this time. Only half of the Senate is up every 2 years, so he was not up for re-election, but they will remain your representative and senator. We are heading into a long budget session in the 2025 session that it hasn't been announced yet, but word is we are going to start our session on January 8th this year. By statute, the session has to end no later than midnight on April 29th. Constitutionally, the legislature only has one requirement, one burden, so to speak, this session, and that's to pass a balanced budget. And so assuming that we get a budget passed by April 29th, we'll adjourn for the year. We're expecting quite a difficult budget year, probably one of the more difficult budget years we've had in the past decade or more. Right now, Medicaid budget is structurally off about $450 million. And so legislators this session will be looking to fill that hole. And there's also likely to be an omnibus road funding package this session that could impact local government. Property taxes will clearly be on the table as well. So we expect Senator Braun, or Governor-elect Braun, I should say, to make healthcare cost a major priority in his next administration. So we're expecting a fairly active 2025 session. So happy to take any questions you might have about the upcoming session.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Chris. I mean, we have the new contract here. I think everybody got it, sending out to everyone. I'd entertain a motion to accept the contract.
I would make a motion to accept the contract.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chris. We'll get the contract signed and over to you.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, next we have Yellow Bear Farms, a petition to vacate an unimproved public way located at Hidden Shores in Long Beach. Hi, Anthony.
Hi. Just to confirm, there was a publication of notice. I know this isn't the normal thing that you have before you. So the reason that before you is statutorily, is the Indiana code is the default rules for the request that's before you tonight, because the town code does not address vacation of the road and what Mr. Novak will present to you tonight. So he's properly published notice of this hearing on this petition tonight, and it's properly before you, given notice to neighbors, and from there they'll present it, and then you can take public comments and close that portion of it and have your discussion and go from there.
Okay, and we'll ask for public comments for and public comments against.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, President Schmidt, members of the council. My name is Anthony Novak. I'm an attorney with Louis Lewis, Kaminsky & Jones. We're a law firm in LaPorte. Here tonight on behalf of Yellow Bear Farms, LLC. Specifically under Town Ordinance 154-035, asking to vacate a platted but unimproved way known as Grandmere in Long Beach. So the petition in front of you, if you guys don't have a copy, I did just bring this. So Yellow Bear Farms owns 2 peninsula out in Lake Claire, one of which over here where the house is being constructed, that was never platted. It's always been undeveloped. It's not technically part of Hidden Shores. There's no restrictions on it. They went in front of the building commission last year, the year before. It was approved for a building permit, and is currently constructing that residence, which is anticipated to be done early fall of next year. At issue here is this easternmost peninsula, which is technically Hidden Shores First Edition, which was platted by my in-laws back in 1992, but never ultimately developed. As you can see here, these are actually platted lots. 47 through, I believe, 56. I should know that because that's what I'm, 47 through 57. And right through here is what's known as Grandmere. So in your petition, one of the exhibits shows the original plat done in 1992, and in very fine print in the upper right corner of the plat, my mother-in-law signed something that simply says that all roads shown as public roads are hereby dedicated to the town as a public road. A little out of order. Typically before you would dedicate a road, you would build it to town specs and the town would ultimately accept it. Bringing us to today, in 2022, the owner bought all but 2 of those lots on the peninsula. Finished purchasing the other 2 lots a couple of months ago, and then is ultimately here in front of you asking that this road be vacated. So Grandmere runs between all of these lots, and although it's shown as being a platted road, it's never been improved, it's densely wooded, and petitioner's understanding is that the town doesn't have any intentions of actually developing that road. So, as I indicated, it was platted in 1992, and until the property went under contract in 2021, my in-laws and the purchaser actually believed that they owned the entirety of that peninsula. Survey was done, and it shows that there was a road that actually exists. So, you know, people may say, like, what's the future plans here? And the client has simply said, there are no future plans. He's got no desire to build residences there, and in fact, by vacating this road, that would hinder that plan. Can't build residences if there isn't a road there. He simply is just trying to vacate that area so that there's no question on what he owns and what the town may ultimately own. Whenever we have to have a public hearing, I talked with Chris. Chris indicated that we would notify every adjacent landowner by certified mail and publish. So you would notify every adjacent landowner by Grand Mere, which is all Yellow Bear Farms. And then right here we have Alex and Vita Salas, which I believe are right here. And they've actually consented to our request. They're kind of uniquely situated. They have a Grand Mere address because the front door technically faces the Grand Mere, though their driveway comes off of Shorewood, and that's presented unique issues for them. They ultimately want to vacate it as well, and they would like to have a Shorewood address, which they would ultimately request from the town. We also had to give notice to these two adjoining landowners to the south, one of which is Greg and Maureen Smith. It's not in your petition, but on October 28th, after sending them a certified letter, they signed a consent indicating that they have no objection, they consent to the request, and that's on file with Meg. The only other landowner that we had to notify was Don and Victoria Reinke. I apologize if I say that wrong, 2601 Shorewood. We didn't get their consent. I don't know if they're opposed or not, but we just didn't happen to get it. So ultimately tonight, that's what we're requesting, that this platted but unimproved road be vacated. And I'm certainly here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Anyone have any questions? I would.
I'm sorry, President Schmidt, if I may.
Sure.
The ordinance indicates, and the question might be, what happens if it's vacated? Legally, what happens is the road gets split right down the middle, and the landowners adjacent to it, their properties would just extend to the center of that road. So Yellow Bears would extend all the way, the Solesis would also extend, and that would be the legal effect if it's approved. I apologize.
And the land use still remains residential?
Correct. If there was going to be any change, which there's no desired use, it'd have to go in front of either the BZA or the Land Commission.
I don't see any advantage to the town doing it.
Okay.
Is my issue. I mean, why would we do that?
Well, it's going to relieve you guys of any obligations to maintain it. It's going to put more property to the tax rolls. And again, we don't have any intentions of developing it, but I guess my question and response would be, if it's a road and you guys have no intentions of improving it, what would be the objection to vacating it?
Well, because if they're ever gonna, well, there's all these lots here and they ever decide to build any there, we would want a road there.
Well, he's certainly going to have an issue. He realizes he'd create himself an issue and that he couldn't be building back there.
My opinion is we've been burned in the past from vacating property, and I'm not a fan of it. That's just my particular opinion. Does anyone else have a?
I'm opposed as well.
Anita?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'm opposed to it.
What's the owner's intended use?
Purely to have more property. If anything, he thinks he might put in private trail so they could use it for his own personal benefit, but he has no intentions of building homes or developing it whatsoever.
Well, the fact that Long Beach owned it and we don't develop it at all, I mean, why would that keep him from doing anything he wanted on it?
Well, I understand, but at the same time, you guys never actually, you only owned it simply because of this deed of dedication that you guys never formally accepted. And again, this was, I believe, somewhat an error in how it was developed in the first place by the fact that it was indicated that it was dedicated, but it wasn't built and you guys didn't formally accept it. So I really think it's more of a Scrivener's issue, and that it would go back to exactly what it was back in 1992, which is property that the town never owned in the first place. And I guess my additional question would be, if the town has no intentions of developing it, what's the purpose of this road then? It's not denying access to any public place of anybody else.
That's what happened in the past. You know, this particular council doesn't have any plan to develop it, but a council that comes behind us might have a different plan. And that's what happened in the past, like at areas on the beach that were vacated or given away, and it came back to bite us in the ass. And
And I understand, particularly if you're talking about the beach, because you're talking about access to a public place, and specifically in state statute ordinance, well, not ordinance, but the state statute, one of the main objections is denying access to a public place. This is a dead-end road that only goes to my client's property. So by not granting the vacation, we're essentially, tying this guy from being able to do anything. He's got a road that the town has said that they're never going to improve, yet he's got to leave it there and has to make sure that he would develop around it if he ever did want to develop it. It just...
Would he commit to making sure the property was never developed?
I can't, I can bring it up to my client, I certainly can. I can't agree to that condition without him. And also too, I would take issue if he's got an entire piece of property, 7 acres roughly, and he's got a road where he can now build currently 11 houses, and now we'd be stuck in a place to say he couldn't build any structure on there, even a personal structure for himself.
But that argument doesn't track. If he's going to borrow 11 houses, why do we need to vacate the land?
No, I was talking hypothetically, he's not gonna build. Okay.
I'll just add, I don't know, I'm just gonna speak, I'm opposed, I'm not changing that, but I'm just nervous about, we don't have to defend ourselves. We can just, I'm afraid everything just gets legal here. I'm afraid the more we say, it's gonna get turned against us in some lawyer section down the road. I mean, I'm opposed in all stances of ever giving up any town property for any reason whatsoever, bottom line. I just worry anything we say could be used against us at a later time.
Chris, is this our land? Is this the town's land?
Well, that's the way that it's been treated, and it's been dedicated. The discussion has had before. I believe there's a couple of parcels that are there that somebody went on tax sale before, that they wanted it developed. And whether the town does or doesn't decide to, as of right now, it appears so, based on that dedication. I don't disagree, and that discussion has been had many times about how those roads and that development was done properly or not, and that's not any slight on anybody who represented or did anything before. What it has done is created this issue. I do think that you should have a public for and against as well at some point too, but that.
Does council have any more questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, then we should open a public hearing and see if we have any comments for this project or for vacating this road. Anyone on Zoom? Anyone in the audience want to speak for vacating this? Okay.
Can I make a comment as a resident? More question. What happens if this were granted and the property were to ever sell? Can you go back on, how does that work? Or it's vacated forever? Just a question.
Once it's vacated, it's vacated.
Yes.
It's theirs.
Is there any value to the
Well,
property?
Wait, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry. Never mind.
Okay, do we have any comments to speak against vacating? Anyone on Zoom? Anyone in the audience? Can you come up here to the... and give us your name?
Kelly Lane. What about any implications as far as tax? I know all the different parcels, I don't know how many are on the little peninsula, but I'm sure all those are paid property taxes on, right? So if the road's vacated, can he combine those, and does the town then lose the tax revenue for each of those parcels? Is that something to consider, the lost revenue for the town? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Do you know, Chris?
Well, I think the argument might be the other way, that if you didn't vacate it and there's no access, that there may be some arguments, much as some have done, that they're on buildable lots, that you don't have access to them. And there isn't a road. And again, as Kendra has pointed out, I don't want to make other people's arguments. So I think that there's possibilities of no matter what you do, there's an effect to it.
Yeah, so there's like 11 lots there, which then would just become one unbuildable thing, so how would the taxes increase for us ever?
Well, if it's, either way, there's value. So it's ultimately what the assessor would find the value to that, and each side has an ability to appeal whatever the city is.
Okay, anyone else in the audience want to speak against it? Okay, then we close the public hearing.
Can do that. I do want to point out that no matter what you do, if you were to approve this, for instance, it'd be done by ordinance. And because you're missing a member tonight, you couldn't pass that ordinance tonight because that would require a unanimous decision to consider that. So regardless of, even if your intentions are to go that route, you couldn't do that. So if there are questions or things that discussions you want to have, no matter what, you couldn't pass it even if you were inclined to tonight.
Well, I guess I will start with, does anyone want to make a motion to approve to vacate this property?
I had a quick question before that about whether there is any value to this. Is there value to the owner of Yellow Bear and the 11 properties to purchase it? Is there value to the town to sell it? And that's my only question. Otherwise, I would oppose it. Just, again, if there's no benefit to the town to give it away, then why would we? So my only question would be about whether there's any monetary value.
Well, even if you were going to sell it, there are statutory procedures that you would have to go through to appraise and to offer it to those. Likely it's the surrounding owners. But I mean, there are procedures to do that. Generally, that isn't what you do with a roadway. Or platted right of way, but there are provisions in the code that if you were to go through and sell it, the following and give notice and allow opportunities to bid on it.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to approve this?
No.
Okay, not hearing any, I think we just, it's a dead subject.
No,
I'll make a motion to deny the petition. We can vote on that, right? Move it off the agenda, right? That'd be if it's on the agenda.
You can make the motion to deny that. You could only, if you wanted to vacate it, would be by ordinance. And so then that would be recorded and then that would become part of the record and that's what would show that it becomes the petitioners and the neighbors. You could also entertain a motion and take a vote to deny it and then that would be the result.
And I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion to deny the petition to vacate this land.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sorry, Anthony. Okay, ordinance number 2024-10, additional appropriations in excess of current budget.
Yes.
Is this a public hearing? Additional appropriations, is that a public hearing?
It's 2 readings.
Oh,
So
okay.
you could consider it on first reading and then if you were to have a public hearing, you would do it on the second.
Okay.
So this has been put together. These are our last allotments for the capital plan. Now that we have seen how much cash we need to finish the planned projects for the year. Most projects are almost finished. The one I mentioned, garbage fund, 150,000 towards the F-550 truck that was approved by council. Mark had sent an email that truck, the timeline got pushed back, so those funds more than likely will not be needed this year. Nonetheless, we are appropriating them just in case that they called and said, we got the parts, it's gonna be ready December or whatever date, and then we have the funds. The funds, all of these funds are there and part of the plan. Appropriating them just puts that into motion to actually spend them. So,
And then if it doesn't come through our last,
I'd like to talk to Trista
does
if
it move back at the end of the year to balance out the account?
everything would go back to cash unless we, there's still in process, I'm trying to blend that word, but
Okay.
to essentially tell the state that we're going to use that budget in 25. I forget the word. Otherwise, it would just return to cash and we reappropriate it next year if it's not in the budget.
Just accruing
So,
for future expenses?
yeah, just as in cash.
Okay.
So that one is, the rest of these will be spent on our planned capital, as I stated. Any questions?
So Meg, I think maybe the word you were thinking was encumber.
Yes, thank you. I understand.
Hi, everybody. At the next meeting, if you do vote for the additional appropriation to pass it, we simply at the end of December then would encumber this money because it is planned, it is part of the capital plan as well then, and that adds it to next year's budget to be able to pay for the truck right away. If we did not encumber it at the end of the year, then you would a second time go through the additional appropriation next year because again, this wasn't included in the budget specifically while we waited for the building of the truck to happen. Yes, if it's not spent at the end of the year and not encumbered, then it just stays in the cash balance and it's there waiting for use in the future.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the additional appropriation ordinance
First reading.
on first reading?
I'll make a motion to approve the additional appropriation ordinance on first reading.
You have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we have public hearing, ordinance number 2024-11, new garbage rates for refuse collection services.
The Budget and Finance Committee reviewed the spreadsheet while we were given that kind of shows the breakdown of what is making up the rates that we are recommending that the council implement, the advertised rates. That they would begin January 1st of 2025. The rates from Republic Services, who is our vendor that we chose to stay with. This would be a 3-year contract that council approved. And we know the rates from Republic, and we are adding some administrative costs. There were some administrative costs prior, and so we assessed those costs, and all of this allows for the town to take on capital projects and cover our overhead related to our trash. And I think we kind of already went over this at the last meeting or two when we discussed the garbage rates, but it's been many years since our rates have increased from our provider, so.
I know, 18 years, really, we've had the same price?
It's nice.
That's
Well,
amazing.
if you recall the prior ordinance, Chris Willoughby circulated this new ordinance, not new, but amended essentially, with the rates spelled out as opposed to this unit charge cap that was in place since 2006. So, and I believe related to the leaf pickup, for example, council still has and it states it in the ordinance that it would look at the rates every year, assess them, assess our revenue and expenses, and then the rates could be amended if they needed to be. But right now, this ordinance would spell out the garbage rates for the next 3 years, as we discussed when council approved that contract.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing. Do we have anyone that wants to speak against the garbage ordinance on Zoom? Anyone in the audience who'd like to speak against the garbage ordinance? Anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak in favor of the garbage ordinance? Anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the garbage ordinance?
No one cares about garbage, I guess.
Okay.
We're pro garbage.
Right, we're pro garbage.
One more quick thing before you vote. There is a section or two that, not related to the rates, but just some of the wording that will be amended heading into the second reading and the final approval, just that have come up about those hidden shores residences. Chris, there's also a typo at the top. One word, and then there's a section,
Typo?
hold on. One of them was whether we want to spell out the leaf rate, which I don't think we're going to do now. We're just going to, the wording covers us for reassessing each year on that pro-rata annual fee.
So my suggestion, giving you the full picture, there are some questions that came up after this draft that I'm not sure if they've been communicated. My suggestion to you, and especially because you're getting to year end and holidays and you're missing a member tonight, you couldn't pass this, and that wasn't the intention to pass it all on reading, is to pass it on first reading and then consider further recommendations that I think, as Clerk Collins kind of went through the history and came upon some things that have been done, not out of line, but just by habit or convenience, but not formal, or at least we couldn't find where any formal decisions were made. So I think there'll be some more discussion about how to handle some houses and whether there's any grandfathering and trash removal.
And the other part was just about a surplus accumulating in this fund for the purpose of future capital expenses. So the way it's worded in 96.04, we may just revise that to accurately reflect what's going to happen with the rates.
So if you approve it on first reading as it's proposed, that allows you to have amendments, and then there will be further ones for you to suggest, and you can either keep it as you've done on first reading or approve the amendments that are forthcoming.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve this on first reading. Do we have a second?
Second.
Conditional approval.
Any more discussion?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
The only discussion that I have is that I want to thank the clerk treasurer's office. There was a lot to go through just to piece this together, and with the ordinance being as old as it is, and an analysis of what it will cost residents, which is a very minimum amount. So I just want to thank her for working and getting this to us.
I would say that also, that the increase for the residents is minimal. Like for the first year, it's $2.62. A dollar more than that, another $1 more than that next subsequent year. So, okay. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Passes on first reading. Haas and Associates, proposal for civil engineering services for Lakeshore Drive reconstruction, stop 13 to stop 31, not to exceed $30,000.
The proposal that's before the council tonight is for the conceptual design and the preliminary opinion of probable cost related to the Lakeshore Drive paving. As we talked about at the beginning of today's meeting, we're receiving $1.3 million in the spring of next year. We are hopeful that the community crossings grants through the state of Indiana will continue into the future. The tentative plan for Lakeshore Drive paving would begin in 2026 and would more than likely take 2 to 3 years to complete. Prior to proceeding with our future plans to repave Lakeshore Drive, we need to evaluate several options that will be before this council. That has to do with the width of the overall lanes, discussion and recommendations relative to the right-of-way, and then also, and most importantly, the overall cost to reconstruct and or pave the entire length of Lakeshore Drive from stop 13 to 31. The proposal before you tonight is not to exceed $30,000 to allow Haas Engineering to begin this preliminary work, to bring back information to the council, to also include a session of public input for the Lakeshore Drive homeowners and also for the residents of Long Beach to have some input into this project as well. Because if we were to decide to increase the overall width of the roadway, that obviously would put us into the right-of-way on Lakeshore Drive, which would cause some inconvenience to several of the homeowners on that length of roadway as well. Any questions?
Just to clarify that point, is you drive up and down Lakeshore Drive, there's people who have encroached into the utility easement over time. Is that this study will evaluate whether that land is brought back into the public right, as opposed and away from private use?
That's correct. What will come out of this study will be information with insight to the overall design to see, do we go with an 11-foot lane, a 12-foot lane? If we were to go with, let's say, a 12-foot lane, how much of that right-of-way would we then have to, be into, and what would it affect? Would we be moving mailboxes, taking out pavers, other landscaping along Lakeshore Drive could be affected by this. So we need to get some insight from Haas. Already they have a lot of the engineering study that was done for Lakeshore Drive from the previous sewer project. So they have elevations that they can pull from in that. But we need to look at what Lakeshore Drive is going to look like moving forward into 2026 and beyond. And then we're hopeful to also do some soil borings out there, which would be a decision the council would have to make later as well, because we need to look at what's underneath that roadway currently, because for those that have driven that roadway, you know that it is quite bumpy in some areas. What that is that the overall subbase is more or less no longer intact. So there may be a recommendation that we go in, totally take it out all the way down to the virgin soil, and then we reconstruct Lakeshore Drive in certain areas as well. It's going to come at a greater cost, but also we wouldn't have to be back out there resurfacing, repaving that roadway as often, because it would be constructed the right way. And then also we'll find out more what the CCMG will have for us in the future. As the lobbyist indicated earlier, we have a new governor. We hope that the new governor continues with the roadway project funding, which allows the town to receive 75% grant funds, and then we only have to expend $250,000 on every million that we receive. Because this project in Lakeshore Drive is going to be quite costly. It'll be several millions of dollars. But yes, to JD's point, yes, it will look at that.
Yeah, I guess I would just encourage the next council to incorporate as much public comment as possible into this when we're talking about going into what people may have perceived or even acquired over time as their private property, when in fact it is in the public right-of-way, and that they are a part of the discussion. CCMG is a fabulous program, but this could really impact a lot of people's perceived property values, but their ownership rights as well.
It's
It's gonna be complicated because some of those people, that's their only place they have to park.
100%.
Yeah.
But the 30,000 not to exceed on this proposal will at least give Haas the go-ahead to get this work started so that these decisions can start to be made in 2025, moving to 2026, which is when we're hopeful to submit our application to the state of Indiana for grant funding in 2026.
So would someone like to make a motion to approve this Haas proposal?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Haas, not to exceed 30,000.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Haas and Associates, proposal for civil engineering services for 2024-2 CCMG and 2024 PAMP administration, not to exceed $25,000.
This proposal was previously approved by the council. We added an amendment for an additional $4,500 in the original proposal. I had found through working with Haas Associates that there's additional grant funding available for next year for roadway striping, pedestrian crosswalks, signage, and other roadway improvements. I reached out to President Schmidt, asked that we move forward with that grant because the deadline was just before our last council meeting. So we moved forward, submitted the grant. Haas had done some work to get that in for us to meet the timeline. So this amendment is just allowing that additional $4,500 to be added to the original proposal. And then if the grant is approved, we would receive, in total, we would be doing about $80,000 in roadway striping next year. That would only cost us roughly about $15,000 to $18,000 would be our cost to get that done. So again, we're trying to capitalize on grant funds that are out there, and then obviously there's engineering work relative to that.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. CCMG 2024-2 grant acceptance.
Actually, before that, there's an invoice that you
Right, for the 10,000.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Haas and Associates invoice number 2024361-05 for $10,860.54 for approval for the 2024-2 CCMG grant application PAMP and NDOT HSIP grant submittal.
Can we get some more acronyms in it?
Yeah,
Job, Jen.
and I don't know what any of those stand for.
all the roadway projects that were on the previous proposal. This is one of the first invoices coming in for work related to those projects. So
I would make a motion to approve the invoice.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? CCMG 2024-2 grant acceptance.
just looking for council approval to authorize the council president to sign the acceptance letter for the Community Crossings grant, where we'll be receiving $1.3 million in grant funding from the state of Indiana. And then I'll get the details out to the president in the following week so that we can get the DocuSign documents submitted back to the state and then get the funds coming to the town for our spring paving project.
I'll make a motion to accept that. Or,
do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Community Center handicap accessible bathroom proposal.
I would like to thank the community center members for all of their work in recent months. This project for a handicap accessible bathroom at the town's community center has been in discussion for several years. We've made some great improvements in recent years at the community center. We actually put a handicap ramp on the southeastern door that comes into the community center, where we did not have a handicap accessible ramp in the past. So now we're working to install a bathroom for the actual community center that is handicap accessible. This would be just down the hallway from the YMCA. Big thank you to Doug Wickstrom, one of the community center members, who went out and actually sought actually 3 quotes for the work relative to this project. The council received the quotes last week from the various contractors, and it is a recommendation to the council to approve the contract with Michiana Construction and also with K&B Electric and Poston Plumbing to complete this project. In total, the project is $24,871.51. I checked with Clerk Collins, as this was part of the capital expenditure plan. She has confirmed that the funds necessary for this project are available in the capital plan, and we're asking respectfully for the council's approval to move forward with this project again this year.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Handbook review expenditure.
Yeah, I forwarded everyone the email today. I apologize if you had not seen it previous. As a process of reviewing employee handbook, the committee is making a recommendation to have legal eyes put on it before it gets to the council for approval. The background here is that we contacted 3 firms, Brazy Nelson and Janes, Jackson Lewis, and Mike Konasek had a referral for Ogletree Deacons, who specializes in HR, and you have that quote. The committee is recommending allocation of not to exceed $1,000 for approval of the handbook before council approves it. Other, just by way of note, is the other quotes. Brazy Nelson and James was roughly $1,000. Jackson Lewis was $7,000.
I'd like to make a motion to accept that, that law firm to do the review for the $1,000. I forget the name of the law firm.
I'll second.
Ogletree Deacons.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 2025 employee health care renewal.
Well, this was some welcome news. As we were planning the budget for 2025, we anticipated potentially an 8 to 10% increase in the healthcare cost for the healthcare insurance that we provide for all of our town employees. We received notice from General Insurance that our 2025 employee healthcare renewal with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield will decrease by 1.94%. In recent years, we've seen it increase every single year. So again, this is welcome news, and I would ask that the council vote to allow me to move forward with the renewal that is due by November 16th. I will then send off a notification to General Insurance that we want to continue with the same healthcare plan that we have and at the reduced rate of 1.94% for 2025. The only other thing I'd add is that the deductibles did change a little bit, so there's a little bit more cost onto the employees, where a single member went up $500, and I think it was right around $750 went up for the family. But overall, the plan stayed the same.
Anybody like to make a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the employee healthcare reduction in cost.
Does that ever happen?
I know.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Police Department, in-car and body-worn camera, contract extension renewal.
The in-car cameras and the body-worn cameras for the police department, the 5-year contract will expire on April 30th of next year. In the last couple of months, I've been in negotiations with 2 of the major providers for this equipment. One is Utility body-worn, and then the other is Taser Axon International. To renew with Utility for the current platform that we have, we were able to negotiate a reduced contract compared to the current contract, which would bring about a savings of approximately $25,300 over the period of the next 5 years. I did inquire with both companies if they offered anything less than a 5-year contract. Both replied that they do not, as a standard in the law enforcement field with these types of body-worn cameras and in-car camera systems. There are some smaller vendors out there that do offer a lesser of a contract, but I would not recommend that the town utilize them because these 2 are nationally recognized. We've had great success with the current camera systems that we do have. So I'm looking for authorization to allow my office to move forward with the new 5-year contract. The contract would be sent to us, have the town attorney and the council review prior to signature, but I just want to at least get the notification back to Utility that we are interested in renewing with a contract extension beginning May 1st of next year, and then that would then commence for the next 5 years. It would take us into April of 2030. And again, it's at reduced cost. Right now, we're paying approximately $15,260 a year for the camera systems. Under the new contract, our annual payment would be $10,200. For the public's knowledge, what this includes is full warranty on all our body cameras and in-car cameras. And then most importantly, the largest portion of this is the storage of all of our video to the cloud and access to the cloud. We record quite a bit of footage on our traffic stops and our day-to-day public interaction. So a lot of this, honestly, is just the storage to the cloud as well. So it encompasses the entire package. Any questions? And Tasers, just for the public's knowledge, Tasers contract was, we're looking at $51,000 for 5 years with Utility. Taser wanted $93,712. So they were almost double.
Some numbers all.
I just wanted to thank you for, I mean, it was incredibly detailed what you sent to us. So you make it sound easy, but what you gave us was really, it was just well done. So thank you.
I would make a motion to approve the renewal of the contract extension.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Balatovic's leaf removal contract.
So once Healy Landscaping removes the leaves from the town roadways, the leaves are dropped off at our town public works facility across from Hacienda. They're then stored on the back of our town property, and then annually in the fall and the spring, we hire Balatovich Construction to come in and remove the leaves to a compost site. That cost for the removal in the fall is $18,000, which is the same as the contract from last fall. They did not increase the cost to the town, so they have honored the cost, and I'm asking for approval of the contract, which would allow them $9,000 when they start, and then the balance when completed. And this would come out of the fund related to the leaf fund that we charge the residents $10 a month for.
I would make a motion to accept the leaf removal contract for $18,000.
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Town trees removal quotes for approval.
A big thank you to Ellen Lynch for all of her work and the tree board. I know Janice Brown went out with Ellen on several occasions looking at numerous trees throughout.
Actually, everybody on the committee went out and looked at all the trees.
Wonderful.
Even Jan Grove out there in her little cart. This is how you should look for trees.
It's been nice. We've been able to send the trees to the tree board. They've then gone out and done a lot of the legwork, along with Tom Dolph. Tom spent a lot of time working on this project as well. So they had solicited 3 quotes from 3 vendors, and John's Tree Service, Nolan Sons, and Maple City Tree. 3 quotes that were received. John's Tree Service, this is for approximately 25 trees, 25 to 30 trees.
Yeah, and it's some of our just trim.
Yeah, so there's some tree trimming, and also the removal and the stump removal of the stumps that they do have access to. So the 3 quotes, John's Tree Service, $41,650. Nolan Sons, $45,090. And Maple City Trees, $24,900. So it is the recommendation to the council that we authorize Maple City Tree Service to move forward this fall with the removal of the trees on the spreadsheet that the council has received in advance of this meeting. And then if approved, we'll get Maple City to sign the document from the tree board, and then they'll begin their work in the next couple of weeks. And we do have the funds in both the 2024 general operating budget and or the park board budget to cover the cost of these expenses.
I'll make a motion to approve the Maple City quote to remove those trees.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Committee openings, it's just a reminder, we're nearing the end of the year. We've got a new council coming in. We always have committee openings, so if anyone's interested, please let us know. We'll try to get you involved. We definitely will have a park board opening because Cindy can't be on the council and the park board. We have actually received one little resume for that position. The park board position, you have to be a resident. But again, if anyone in the community is interested in getting involved, please let us know, and we would love to get you involved. Police commission appointment.
Due to the unfortunate passing of Brent Solar this past summer, we have an opening on the police commission. It is a 3-member board. One of the members is at the recommendation of the police department, and then the 2 other members are appointed by the president of the town council. The police department members would like to respectfully ask the town council to consider the appointment of Megan Applegate. Megan is a lifelong Long Beach resident. She's a professional firefighter with the Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department and is a local certified public accountant. Megan has been asked and is honored to fulfill the open position, and it is our recommendation to the council that we ask you to appoint Megan Applegate to our open position.
I would make a motion to appoint Megan Applegate to the police commission.
I would second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any council comments? Claims approval, Meg?
Town checks number 21114 to 21188, totaling $226,198.12. Water checks number 55122 to 55144, totaling $140,666.56. A total payroll of $7,727.29. I'd ask for a motion to approve, please.
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Any more discussion or any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make a motion to adjourn. It is 8:30.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's a record.
Who seconded?